Microphone to work with there. We'll go ahead and get started. Let's call the roll. All right, we've got some housekeeping things here. A few of these bills are going by in case anybody is here for them. At the request of the patrons or other parties. Senate Bill 1092 is going to go by for the week. Senate Bill 1000 is going to go by for the week. Senate Bill 778, actually that's a separate motion. So those two are going to go by for the week. I think there are going to be others, and we'll get a list of those and announce them as they come in. And I think that is it. And we have a request from Senator Surville that we strike his Senate Bill 778. And so I would so move, and Senator Stanley would second, that Senate Bill 778 be stricken. Is that my bill? Okay. We've got one from Senator Surville too, but that's my bill too. Sorry. That's my bill. So anyway, motion is to strike 778. All in favor? We've got to record. There you go. All right. With that, I believe we are ready to go to the docket. And actually, we're going to have a subcommittee report from Senator Spruill on the Charter Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was two bills that we had been going by for today. One of them by Senator Jill Vogel and Senator Morrison, rather. You have those numbers, I believe?
Mr. Chair, those two numbers that bills going by for the day, that's Senate Bill 541 from Senator Vogel, and that was not heard by subcommittee. And then Senate Bill 961 from Senator Morrissey was heard and reported out of subcommittee, but he asked that go by for the day as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Spruill.
This committee that you appointed, record time we heard 14 bills in 20 minutes. Good committee. Wow. All the Republicans on this side did a good job. The Democrats on that side did a good job. We all on one accord, and our lawyer was there to make sure we did everything in proper and order. So I move, Mr. Chairman, if properly, we can move that all the charter bills now, except two, that we have an amendment on two, but all the rest of them be taken up in a block.
All right. Do we need a motion to take them up in a block, or can we just take them up in a block? Yeah, all right, we'll do that. We'll take them up. Yeah, can you give us the numbers?
Mr. Chair, the numbers of the bills in a block are Senate Bill 96, Senate Bill 244, Senate Bill 257, Senate Bill 284, Senate Bill 528, Senate Bill 597, Senate Bill 690, Senate Bill 900, Senate Bill 1036, and Senate Bill 1084. Those all reported unanimously out of subcommittee.
Second. All right, and the motion and second is that we pass those charter amendments, charter bills that have just been read off in a block. There we go. All right. Thank you, Senator Spruill.
We have two, Mr. Chairman, I believe, that we voted on. We had an amendment to those two.
Okay.
The lawyer will bring those two up for us, please.
Mr. Chair, those two bills are Senate Bill 281 and Senate Bill 454, both of them reported with one amendment.
Let's go to 281.
And Mr. Chair, we are going to need to adopt the amendments. So on Senate Bill 281, I'll just read the single line amendment. Sorry, let me get where I am. That adds an emergency clause at the end of the bill. So after line 129, it says, 2, that an emergency exists and this act is enforced from its passage.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, the amendment has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. I'm going to record that one, okay?
And Mr. Chair, the second line amendment on Senate Bill 454 is on line 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, we then have to report on the bill.
Right. So we have a motion.
Move the report.
As amended.
281, on Senate Bill 281. Now 454.
Mr. Chair, on Senate Bill 454, line 44, after the word "but," strike the word "delays" and insert "to delay." It's just a small technical amendment.
Move the amendment.
Second. All right, amendment's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Move the report to the bill as amended.
All right, motion is to report. Did we get a second?
Second.
Motion, there we go. Okay, so I believe that completes the charter. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, Senator Sproul.
very good committee. We didn't have many lawyers, so that's why we got through it quick. No lawyers, so we're in good shape.
What the, yeah.
My brother, I didn't mean you though.
All right, it looks like we have one patron signed up, and that is Senator Eben. Is he here?
Caught speeding.
He signs up and he doesn't show up. All right.
He's always.
Mr. Dix?
Mr. Chairman, Chip Dix, on behalf of the solar industry, I believe Senator Marston had asked to go by on his three bills.
He did. What are those numbers? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't,
Mr. Chair, those bills are Senate Bill 870, 875, and 893.
Requested that patron those will go by for the week. I'll caution everybody that Monday is going to be a heck of a day here in little old local government. So you sign on and carry over at your peril. So
thank you, Mr. Chair.
all right, do we have anybody else here? Who have we got? We seem to be shy of some patrons here. Yeah, we'll have to go with committee members. You want yours? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If staff has the amendment on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. You may recall our first meeting that we took up bills. I presented Senate Bill 589 dealing with zoning notices. And it was I think it was the feeling of the committee that after hearing testimony that the intent of the bill was good, but that it was too broad. And I had some volunteers out here who helped craft a substitute which makes it more narrow. The genesis of this bill was in a situation where a fairly large company came in and everything was done legally. It was no problem. In fact, we're pleased to have the business operating, but they were going to be withdrawing a significant amount of water. And in this instance, it didn't take a special use or anything because there had been a previous use established, and it was basically a decision that could be made by the zoning administrator, and it was done, and the business came in. In this sense, so what the language in the substitute will provide is that this would be required, notice would be required in instances where a notice to adjacent properties in instances where minimum storage capacity and yield requirements for residential drinking wells may be impacted. And I think that is what is embodied in the substitute that's just been distributed.
All right, is there anybody here to speak in favor of 589, Senate Bill 589?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Chip Dix on behalf of the Realtors. It's been a long weekend. And we worked with Senator Hanger on this bill, and what we did was we went and looked at the regulations that someone has to meet in order to have a well on their property. And clearly, if the zoning administrator's determination would affect the ability of adjacent landowner to have a well on their property, they should receive notice, which is why we drafted the substitute to meet that goal. So I think it meets the senator's goal. We'd ask you to support it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Andrew Clark with the Home Builders Association of Virginia. Echo the remarks of Mr. Dix, and we support the bill. Thank the patron for the amendment.
Mr. Chairman, Eldon James on behalf of Augusta County, and Augusta County is comfortable with the bill as it is proposed today.
All right, let's go ahead and have a motion on the adoption of the substitute.
So moved.
All right. All in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we've got the substitute in front of us. Anybody against 589? Question, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for the patron. Senator Hanger, I guess the implication is that a nearby adjacent property owner could then comment to the zoning administrator before the decision is made. Is that your understanding of how it would work?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Notice was what the adjacent property owners in this case wanted to know so that they wouldn't be just surprised.
And maybe could be part of the decision.
Right, exactly. And I thank the people who just spoke in favor of the bill who would have been opposed to it in its original form.
Mr. Chairman, if I could supplement,
Sure,
it
Sticks.
also is to make sure that the party that's affected, the adjacent property owner, has a right to appeal that zoning administrator's decision. So that's the real impact of the bill.
Any other questions for Senator Hanger? All right. If anybody wants to make a motion, we can sure do that. All right. Motion to report and duly seconded. Open her up. That's great. Senator Hanger, do you have another one?
No, I think that's it, Mr.
That's it?
Chairman.
Is that it? Okay. Oh, you had a charter bill. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep, Senator Donovan.
Mr. Chairman, having voted on the prevailing side by which we PBI'd Senate Bill 383 last week, I'm wondering if the committee would reconsider that vote.
Second.
All right, the motion is to reconsider the vote by which we passed by indefinitely. Senate Bill, whatever.
383.
Mr. Chairman, what is 383?
383 is the bill that sought to, I believe it is Senator McPike's bill, and he can speak to it. He'd do better than I would.
Mr. Chairman, it's the local lobby registration bill. I think the intent is to put the bill in its appropriate posture, which would be PBI with a letter to the Ethics Council. Mr. Chairman, the previous motion was just a PBI.
I see. Okay. So the motion before us is reconsideration?
Yes.
Remains within the breast of the committee for a week.
Yep, till the next meeting, yeah. All right, so let's vote on the motion. Have we voted on the motion to reconsider?
No.
No.
All right, let's open up. Do we need a recorded vote on that?
Yes.
All right. Motion is to reconsider. All right. All right, the bill's back before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I now move to PBI with a letter to the Ethics Committee to look at the issue, please.
Second.
All right, the motion is to PBI with a chairman's letter to the Ethics Commission. All in favor? There we go. Any patrons here yet? Anybody left on the committee? Well, now.
We used to be a lot more popular.
Yeah, I know.
What's going on?
Anybody seen Senator Evan?
Yeah.
Everybody have a good weekend? We are not by choice. We are at ease, yeah. Efficiency in action. Almost.
Mr. Chairman, is there one we can take up ourselves without any problem?
I'm sorry, Senator Sproul?
Is there one that we could take up that we all can agree on without having a hard time?
I don't know.
Those were called charter bills.
Yeah, I think the charter bills were the extent.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Steph, can you do 869 for us?
Mr. Chairman, we have a line amendment, but Senate Bill 869. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, in an instance which the locality has submitted a timely notice request to a newspaper of general circulation, the newspaper fails to publish the notice, a locality shall be deemed to have met the notice requirements for this subsection, so long as the notice of the agenda, including the item intended for publication in the newspaper, was published on the locality's website at least 3 weeks prior to the hearing. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I served 8.5 years on local governments, and this came up probably 4 times in the 8.5 years, and we had to move entire agendas forward a month. And it is a real problem, and we needed to find a solution for this, and this is an attempt at making the solution. Now, with that, Mr. Chairman, I know we have some line items changes.
Mr. Chair, there are three.
Report the amendments.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, there are 3 line amendments. The first one is on line 29. After the word locality, insert the phrase located in Planning District 23. That's line 29. On line 30, after the phrase publish the notice, notice appears twice. So the first appearance of notice, strike A and insert such. And then the third line amendment is to include a second enactment clause at the end of the bill after line 120 that says 2, that the provisions of this act shall expire on July 1st, 2022. I can repeat any of those if you need.
All right, everybody understand the amendments? We have need a motion on the amendments.
Move, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion on the amendments. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us.
Mr. Chairman, we have a speaker as well from the city of Virginia Beach.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Bob Mathias from the City of Virginia Beach. Senator DeSteph explained the bill quite well. We've had several occurrences in the last year where we have advertised in the paper, contracted with the newspaper, and they didn't follow through. So we had to delay the hearing for the developer. It cost them money, cost us inconvenience. The Press Association had some issues with the bill, thus the 2 amendments, Planning District 23, which is Hampton Roads, and a 2-year sunset. The VML, VACO, and the Press Association are working on a study right now of all the notice bills, or all the notices. They thought they were around 50. There's close to 300, so you'll be seeing more of this in the next session, I believe. But I hope we can pass the bill with the amendments.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Spruill.
this is to Senator DeSteph.
Mr. Chairman, Senator
So
Spruill.
why are you going soft on the press? So what happened after the sunset clock after 2 years and you have not resolved your problem? Then what happened?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn that over to my expert witness. Again, I haven't been in local governments for the last 7 years, so the problem has gotten hugely worse in the last 7 years.
The press isn't going to go soft on you.
They never do.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Spruill, we worked really hard with the Press Association and VML and VACO. We thought this was a good alternative in 2 years. If we still haven't straightened the issue out, then we can, pull the gloves off and go for more than the 2 years.
Thank you.
All right, Bob, can I ask you a question?
Certainly, sir. Yes.
You said there's a study going on about the notice requirements?
Let me let VML speak to that.
Okay, come on up.
Michelle Gowdy from the Virginia Municipal League. VACO and VML and the Press Association have been meeting all summer to try and gather the number of public notices that are in the code. We thought it was like 100. It's like 300 and some. And so it was too big of a project to try and come to negotiations this summer. So we've agreed to meet next summer again to try to come to a reasonable solution that standardizes those public notices. They won't all be the same, but at least try to classify them so it's more clear in the code. And so we're hoping that we'll have that done next year, which is why this agreement was made.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Senator Stanley.
So why do we need this now then? Why don't we just wait till next year? Why are we putting, just in this one planning district, this 2-year thing while you guys go do your work? And I understand 300 notices is a lot, but then why aren't we just moving this to next year and coming back with your results and having a comprehensive plan rather than just taking one little piece for convenience for one political subdivision?
Mr. Chairman, I can probably help explain that. And you know how we have bills that we put a great idea in there and then they build and build and build and build and build, and we call it the Christmas tree effect? Well, this is the top star on that Christmas tree, and we're waiting for everybody else to chime on and follow Virginia Beach once we pass this wonderful bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Sproul.
it's just not only Virginia Beach. I live in Chesapeake. We had the same problem in Chesapeake, same problem in Norfolk, the same problem in Portsmouth, same problem in Suffolk. So to me, sir, do what you want to do. To me, heck with the VML and the rest of them. I would get rid of it right now.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Sproul, if I may, this does cover all of Hampton Roads, Planning District 23. However, if the committee wants to modify that and include the entire state or the entire country for that matter, I'm good with either. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me make an observation, if I can, Senator DeStefano. I carried a bill similar to this several years ago, and encountered great strenuous objection about the use of the website. And you just either are very lucky or have finessed this in such a way that the thousands of voices that I heard from haven't showed up here today. So,
Mr. Chairman,
or maybe they have.
If I may, if I remember from a couple of years ago when you carried it, I was one of your biggest supporters on that bill. And I remember some of the bruises and received one or two from the rocks and stones that were thrown.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, wait, opposition. Sorry, Mr.
No, actually, not opposition. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Amy Perrin-Savard on behalf of the Virginia Press Association, who I believe you were referring to.
Yes.
So typically, you are correct. We do not support bills that move things off the out of the newspaper and put them onto local government websites. In this situation, we met with the folks from Virginia Beach as well as the patrons and we talked about having a compromise. But we've been working with VML and VACO. We've been spending about 2 years to kind of go through the entire code and pull together all the public notice requirements for local government, of which there are probably close to 200. So we're planning on sitting down again in the spring and looking through and coming up with a work group to do a better job of making it easier for public notices to be published, as well as us doing a better job on the back end. So we take full responsibility for what's happened in Virginia Beach. That's not acceptable. Obviously, if you put something in the paper, it should run. We don't think that's acceptable at all, which is why we came to this compromise where we limited it to the Tidewater area and put a sunset so that we can work again in this work group to come up with a better solution for that's going to be statewide. So that's our goal here, and we appreciate the support of this compromise.
I understand. Lord help me for saying this, but I agree with Senator Stanley that we've got this in the works, and it seems kind of silly to me, no matter how meritorious the idea is. Anyway, Senator Pike, do you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For the patron, he referenced shining stars as an example of sort of a Christmas tree. Wouldn't you agree that, for instance, the city of Virginia Beach has an ordinance in relation to shopping carts, and that would be one of those shining stars you're referring to?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, if we do want to get on shopping carts, I did read the ordinance that the city of Virginia Beach has. And an interesting thing, the city of Virginia Beach refers to shopping carts as junks when they are abandoned on a piece of property, but no time ever do they go back to the shopping cart purchaser or the store and fine them or charge them with anything. It's
Mr. Chairman, it's a very sparkling tree. I appreciate the answer from the patron.
It has to be removed as junk would have to be removed from any site if it's clogged up.
And can y'all just call them buggies? I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Where I'm from, we call them buggies. I'm just saying.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Favola.
I come from local government as well, and I appreciate the patron's intent, but I just really believe that notifying the public is what local government's all about. Any government should be about that. I mean, transparency and enabling folks, empowering folks to participate in their governing process. And I just don't think that this has enough protection in there. I know you have the website option that local government has to have at least advertised at least 3 weeks in advance, but I just don't think that's enough protection. I would tend to agree with Senator Stanley and our esteemed chair on this one.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Senator Favola. The catalyst behind this was that not that the local government's trying to avoid, the local government has put it into the newspaper and the newspaper failed to publish it. So this says instead of pushing off the business owner, pushing off the council, pushing off the citizens who show up when they expected it to be there, this saves everybody money and continues with those hearings forward. So from the holistic point, this is a more responsible way to hear it, so you're not pushing things off another month and people are showing up when they originally intended to show up, costing time off from work, costing developers more money with their banks, carrying interest on projects, and things of that nature. So we call this a very friendly way to solve that problem and move forward with the process while keeping the transparency and openness with government. This is only when the newspaper fails to publish their portion of it, and it's already been advertised on the city's website and other publications.
Mr. Chairman. What about the citizen in the area that doesn't have a computer? You cannot believe that every single person has a computer. So if they're lacking access to a very important issue that means a lot to them, and it's not in the paper, but it's on a website, and that person has no access to that website, aren't you then leaving them out of the process by this, sorry, you need to catch up to technology?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, it's not that we're trying to avoid putting it in the newspaper. It's we've contracted with the newspaper to put the notice in, and the newspaper failed to publish it in a timely manner. So they didn't publish it the 30 days out. Now, in Virginia Beach, primarily, when we put something in the newspaper, it runs 30 days out, and it runs all the way up until the date of the meeting. And if you do get the newspaper, you may not have it the first time, but you'll see it one of the subsequent times. And that initial 30-day notice is what we're trying to worry about here. We don't want to worry about violating that 30-day notice. It's going to be in the newspaper multiple times, but the 30-day notice is the issue.
Mr. Chairman. But, again, we're leaving somebody out right now trying to solve a problem that looks like it's a bigger problem that needs more time to be solved. And so I'd also ask you, wouldn't a bill even be better to fix that if they miss it on a Monday and it's a daily paper, they put it in on a Tuesday and refund your money, then it still counts as notice, and that way at least the person that doesn't have a computer has notice. I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of different ways to look at this to try to find a solution. I just don't think that it's ripe for that solution right now, and putting in a temporary measure, which may be the wrong solution, is the way to go. With all due respect, Senator Steff, I think the world of you. I worry about even, if this spreads to small towns or small newspapers where, we have weekly periodicals and those things that even depend on this money from these notices, and we're watching those small papers die every week. So we have dealt with this, Mr. Chairman, in this committee many times, and it is a struggle. I like hearing that both sides, all the stakeholders, including being led by you, are trying to find a comprehensive solution where notices are listed at least 200 to 300 times in the thing. I will look forward to those bills coming next year, but my opinion, Mr. Chairman, is this bill is a Band-Aid on a much bigger wound than that.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Spruill.
To my colleagues up here, the chairman had said 2 years ago, same problem. He put something in, nothing get done. So how come VML and Baker, whatever you call them, said, well, how come they haven't acted then? Senator Stanley just got through saying the same thing. So when are they going to do something? So now you were talking about they're going to get together and do a study. I don't trust them doing no study. This been happening on and over again. Mr. Chairman, you said the same thing 2 years ago. You had the same thing. Senator Stanley had the same problem, and now they're going to do a study now? I don't trust them. Nothing from the press. I don't trust them.
Mr. Chairman, if I may address what my good brother, Senator Spruill, is saying, there's nothing in this bill that prevents the paper from, if they didn't meet the 30-day requirement, putting it on 29 days, 28 days, 27 days, 26 days. What it does is says that we're not going to hold them to the 30-day if the newspaper doesn't meet their contractual obligation and put it in 30 days out. They can still advertise it 29 days, 28 days, 27 days, 26 days. We're just giving them that one-day grace period for not meeting their contractual obligations. What we're trying to do here is make sure that we don't circumvent the entire process just to fix one little thing that we can fix with a day or 2 days short of the 30-day notice. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Donovan.
Just to speak to the bill, first of all, this is obviously an acute problem, and we all know we've heard discussions and proposed solutions to resolve this over many years. A 2-year waiting period on a study is perhaps a little bit long for a locality who's been struggling with it. There is public notice. It is just changing the constraints of the date, but it does not obstruct public notice from being both in the newspapers and online. It merely changes the length of the notice time to account for errors that have happened repeatedly in this locality. I will further point out that nobody but this committee has spoken against this bill, and I would move that we report the bill.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded that we report Senate Bill 869.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of this wonderful,
reported.
august committee.
Senator McClellan.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I have Senate Bill 834, and there is a substitute.
Motion on substitute, all in favor of adopting substitute, say aye.
While the substitute's being passed out, first I'll just give you a little background about what this bill is the problem this bill is attempting to solve. Virginia is in the midst of an affordable housing crisis that is recognized by folks on both sides of the aisle and folks in pretty much all of our communities. In 2017, Governor McAuliffe's Housing Policy Advisory Council showed that Virginia's housing industry faces substantial impediments to providing enough housing for folks across the income spectrum, and that our economic vitality is dependent upon the industry's ability to meet growing demand for housing at all price points. Several other studies have also shown that we have an affordable housing crisis.
Mr. Chairman, can we get that door closed over there, because it's kind of hard to hear?
Can you folks come in, get in and close the door, please? This is the Senate. We're older. We don't hear well.
And a couple of years ago, after several affordable housing bills we were not able to reach consensus on, I convened a number of stakeholders from both the supply and the demand side, and there is consensus that income and wages has not kept up with the costs of construction of housing. And so we need to be creative in how to address one side or the other. One of the ways we have attempted to do that here in Virginia is through the Affordable Dwelling Unit Ordinance enabling statutes. There are two different enabling statutes. 15.2-2304 that applies to just a handful of localities, and then 15.2-2305, which applies to the rest of the Commonwealth, but is pretty complex, burdensome, challenging to implement for both local government and for the developers, and has not really been utilized much. And so after many, many stakeholder discussions, we have come up with another option, a local option. It would not replace 2305, just in case there is someone who would want to use that, but would add a new option that would establish thresholds to qualify for incentives that are a little more easy to implement for both the locality and the developer seeking to take advantage of any ordinances adopted thereunder. The substitute before you has several amendments to the original bill that were requested by representatives of local government, and that is an overview of the bill. Be happy to answer any questions. I know there's some folks here in support who can also answer any questions.
All right, let's hear from those who are in support of Senate Bill 834.
Mr. Chairman, Andrew Clark with the Home Builders Association of Virginia. Would like to thank the patron for introducing the legislation. As she mentioned, this really came as the result of kind of an impasse on how to incentivize affordable housing and how to put in place ordinances that actually are effective in producing affordable units in mixed income communities. So what we've tried to do is strike a balance between the broad authority that's in 2304 that applies to Northern Virginia and Albemarle, and then 2305, which applies to Richmond and everywhere else, and really bring some certainty to that statute. The first issue with 2305 was that the density bonus calculation and the percentage of units was very ambiguous and difficult for city attorneys and developers to even try to put a figure to. So we've tried to clarify that with the use of this chart that gives some predictability for local governments and for the private sector. We've also made it local option. Obviously, this needs to be an issue at the forefront of all local governments' minds, but we felt like starting off with a local option and some clarity in the statute was the best place to start. So again, we support the bill, strongly support the bill. There's a couple chambers of commerce that couldn't be here today that asked me to pass along their support, the Loudoun Chamber and the Greater Reston Chamber. Thank you.
Next.
Michelle Gowdy, Virginia Municipal League. We want to thank the Senator for her help on this issue, and we've been working very hard on it. I think we have some minor changes still that we're working with the home builders on, but we support the bill in concept. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Mindy Carlin. I represent the Northern Virginia Chamber Partnership. That includes the Dulles Regional, Loudoun County, Greater Reston, Greater McLean, and Tysons Regional Chambers. We support this bill and appreciate the fact that it provides the flexibility to remove some of the barriers to affordable housing and to offset the costs. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Joe Galback with the Richmond Association of Realtors. We have about 5,000 members in the Richmond region, and we're happy to support the bill. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Laura Bateman, and I'm representing Virginia First Cities Coalition. Likewise, thank Senator McClellan for putting the bill out here. We've enjoyed working with her through the process, and we know there are a couple more changes that we think will certainly enhance the bill, and we look forward to working through that.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ross Snare, Prince William Chamber of Commerce, and on behalf of our 1,300 members, we support the bill.
Mr. Chairman, Eldon James, on behalf of the Virginia chapter of the American Planning Association, we too appreciate the work of the Senator and being involved in the process. We still think there are a few other improvements that can be made, but we appreciate where it's come from and where it's going. Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. David Blind on behalf of the city of Charlottesville. We too appreciate the efforts of the Senator. Affordable housing certainly is an ongoing focus in Charlottesville. Appreciate the dialogue we've had so far to address some of the concerns, and I'll just ditto what several of my colleagues have said in terms of continuing to work on a couple of other issues. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in favor? Those opposed? Anybody want to speak in opposition to the bill? Move to report. I'm sorry, Senator Donovan.
Yeah, just one question for the patron. I've heard several of the advocates say that they're looking forward to continue working on it. Is that something we're planning to do before it goes to the floor, or not this year, or where are we on consensus building?
We have a House companion. There are some final tweaks that probably need to be made to make sure that everyone's concerns are addressed. I would say we got all of the relevant stakeholders in a room before session and basically said, don't come out until you reach a consensus. They're pretty much there. There are some technical issues that still need to be worked out. And so Delegate Carr, who has this on the House side, we are continuing to work on those technical issues, but everyone agrees that this option is much better than the option that is available in the current 2305, and that we can probably make it a little bit better, but it's better than status quo right now.
Mr. Chairman, just
Senator
follow up.
Favola, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Senator Donovan, do you have a
Thank you
follow-up?
so much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman and Senator McClellan, I'm so glad that I can support this bill because I too want to solve this problem. But I do think we get our best outcomes and products when we have that uncomfortable process of compromising with all of the stakeholders. So I'll support it if it's universal. I might abstain, not because I'm not in favor, but just so we can keep talking about it, so that we can get to that point where everybody is really pleased. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Senator Favola, do you have a question? I do. Okay.
Sorry, I just want to be absolutely clear, coming from local government myself. In the first 15.2-2305.1, I am reading this to mean that the Board of Supervisors would set up a process to adopt an ordinance that would deal with whatever criteria they might deem appropriate to incentivize the provision of affordable housing. And your bill in no way limits, say, the amount of density or where the housing would go. That's all at the discretion of the locality. Am I interpreting that correctly?
I think that is right within the parameters of what is outlined in the bill.
In the bill, yeah.
And so again, right now, localities, if you're 5 localities, you have one enabling statute right now under 4. This doesn't change that. Everybody else has an enabling statute under 5 that everyone pretty much agrees is so cumbersome it's not worth trying to adopt an ordinance. If anybody still wants to try, that stays in place. This provides a third option with a lot more flexibility than
And that's how I read it.
Yes.
In all of those options are still
yes,
on the
local.
books.
Yes.
Okay, that was very helpful. I always like clarification. Thank you.
Any other members of the committee have questions for Senator McClellan?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator DeStefano.
9-page substitute. I've not had a chance to compare side by side these, but on line 74, number 11, we're talking about locking in rents or resale values for not less than 15 years, but not more than 50 years. I've seen in New York City what's happened when they lock in the housing on that away from what free market is doing. And I have a little concern with that. We're truly locking in prices for, again, not less than 15 years, but not more than 50 years. So that's a huge swing on this.
May I respond briefly?
Senator McClellan.
So that's actually existing law in 2305 that's mandatory, and we mirrored that here, but made it optional. So what that's all the substitute does is it takes language that was mandatory in 2305 and makes it optional in this new statute. It does not change that existing law, and that's the difference between the original bill and the substitute.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, one last piece of that.
Senator
if I may
DeStefano.
follow up. And I haven't had a chance, again, to dig into the substitute and read it and compare. But on line 170 and line 177, where we're defining low-income housing and very low-income housing, normally we define that and tie it to poverty rate. What we're doing here is tying it to medium income for the locality. So I'm probably going to vote no on this to slow it down, or abstain from this to slow it down until I have a chance to really dig into this a little further. I have concerns when we redefine terms that we have used other places of the code, or we're using other places with local government, and we're changing the definition of those. Normally, when we talk low-income housing, we're talking very low-income housing, we tie it to the poverty rate and the poverty rate income. Here, we're tying it to the medium, the medium income for the locality itself.
So, Mr. Chairman, in response, those definitions mirror what VHDA and HUD use for affordable housing, and it's pretty common in the industry that when you're talking about affordability, you are talking about a percentage of someone's income that they're paying for housing. And so that's why we have used these. They mirror HUD and VHDA definitions.
Anybody else for Senator McClellan?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Bell.
On line 84, the 280 days, can you just tell me how you all arrived at the 280-day time frame?
That's existing code. Again, that was code language from 2305 that is mandatory that we moved into this code section mirroring it.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Bell.
Was there any discussion, or would you be open as this goes through further negotiations and marrying with the House and trying to reduce that? Because it seems like I understand the number of things, but 280 days is that would be helpful to get more affordable housing if we could reduce that timeline there.
I think we'll talk about that, sure.
Promise, right? Anybody else? All right, I think we have a motion in front of us.
Yeas 12, nays 2, extension 1. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator McClellan. And still no Senator Evan? All right. Is that the only one we've got? I think I know what Surville wants to do. All right. Senator Surville has asked that his Senate Bill 638 be PBI'd with a letter to the Housing Commission to take a look at 638. All right. Motion is to PBI with a letter. You got it? Okay. And we still have within the breast of the committee Senator Evans' bill. And so I guess we'll just carry that over to next week.
There are people here to speak to that, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I can't do it without the patron.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask staff if they've heard back from Senator Eben? Or?
I can tell you the chairman has not heard back from Senator Eben. I don't know if staff has or not.
I know you're very important.
Yeah. For at least this hour every Monday.
By default, can I just PBI it?
Yeah, no, can't do that either. Let me ask if anybody has traveled down here. That does not include people who are getting paid to be here.
Mr. Chairman, Kate Bates, President and CEO of the Arlington Chamber of Commerce.
All right.
Specifically to speak out.
Okay, come on up. We'll listen to what you have to say. Everybody will take copious notes, and we swear to remember it next week.
Mr. Chairman, is anybody trying to get a hold of him while
Yes,
we're doing this?
everybody's trying, except the Capitol Police, and they're next.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Kate Bates, President and CEO of the Arlington Chamber of Commerce, representing approximately 700 members. Our membership includes local small businesses, global companies with a presence in Arlington, and nonprofit organizations as well. I'm here today because in the past week, a number of our members representing a variety of industries have reached out with serious concerns that this bill could inhibit commercial and housing development in Arlington and across the Commonwealth. Since site plan conditions are site-specific and approved by local governments on a project-by-project basis, each site could have its own labor rules if this bill passes. These rules might vary widely from project to project, creating inconsistency in Virginia's labor market. If passed, the cost and uncertainty by this bill could stifle development in Virginia, impeding our goals of building more housing and updating our commercial stock. All workers should be treated and compensated appropriately, and we believe that there are ways to ensure these outcomes that do not risk the vitality of Virginia's commercial and housing development, as this bill would. We respectfully ask that this bill be passed by for the year. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
Senator DeSteph or Senator Dunn?
Would she be willing to give us her talking points so we have them next week in writing?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Letters to the committee, but we're happy to submit this as well.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, can I get your name one more time? I'm actually typing this as notes on this bill, so when it comes up next week, if you're unable to be here, I can actually use your name and talk
See?
about what you just said.
There's our note taker.
Thank you so much. Kate Bates, President and CEO of the Arlington Chamber of Commerce.
I got that part.
All right.
Kate Bates.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Come on up. State your name.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Jason Guillot. I'm not being paid to be here today. I'm with Tallheimer Realty Partners. I'm a developer. We're the people who would have to encounter this type of ordinance, if you would. I also am vice president of Graker, which is the Greater Richmond Association of Commercial Real Estate. Represents 550 professionals here in the Richmond area. At Tallheimer Realty Partners, we own $650 million in real estate, mostly in Hampton Roads in Richmond. We spend a lot of time entitling sites, dealing with ordinances. It's very difficult. Some municipalities are easier than others. The staffing levels oftentimes are burdened with the existing ordinances that we have. And I can tell you that we often avoid certain municipalities where the ordinances are difficult and not worth our time. So when it comes to affordable housing, when you want to spur private development, if you want to build office buildings to encourage new companies to move to Virginia, I would highly encourage you to not allow municipalities to add additional ordinances and legislation that would make it even more difficult. I'll tell you, we spend a lot of time on construction sites, and contractors are making a lot of good money right now, and so are the subs. Subs are having trouble keeping labor, and they're hiring each other's labor. They are paying more and more hourly, and we're feeling it. Tariffs have had an impact on inflation in commercial real estate and construction, but labor has actually contributed more. On one hand, it's good for workers, right? So higher wages, people are making more, and they're making up for lost time during the recession. So we see it as a positive. Business is good and workers are making money, but I'd ask you to please consider the downstream effects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Andy Beach, an owner of Urban Core Commercial Construction. And contrary to what Jason said, I don't know any contractors that are making good money right now. No, but I'm in opposition of the bill for two reasons. First, as we talked about earlier, we are in a crisis for affordable housing. We specialize in building affordable housing. The cost for materials, the cost for labor, everything is going up. So any legislation that we feel would impact and add cost to building affordable housing, we think is not good for the citizens of Virginia. And then secondly, zoning is already a complicated, very long, expensive process that really should have and stay focused on developing livable communities in Virginia. And I think if you layer in labor requirements and labor laws, you dilute the efficacy of both of those things. So that's why I'm in opposition of this bill.
Anybody else who's traveled here to speak on the bill? All right, we will duly note and remember your comments, and hopefully Senator Edwin will be with us next week, and we can deal with the bill. I think that, did we do with, I think Surville had a bill he wanted, did we do that already? Yeah, we did that already. I think that completes our docket for the day. All right, staff? All right, thank you all. Committee is adjourned.